Okay, check it out. That's the generator. I have to work a little bit with the idle control on it. It's really touchy because you give it like this controls the amount of charcoal gas that comes out of here, and this controls the amount of fresh air that comes in. If you saw what I was doing, I just turned it a little bit, and it had a big effect on it because it didn't have a carburetor. So I'm basically the carburetor myself. But once you get it to a stable RPM that you like, you can change the gas supply or the air supply, and then you've seen the voltage. I actually have a 20, and I got two 12-volt lights right here in series. So they're 12 and 12, it's supposed to be 24, so you know it'd take like 24 volts to light them up. I figured if it was 12, it'd probably blow them. But anyway, that's the charcoal gasifier. That's the big one. That's the 55-gallon drum, and it's just about that full right there of charcoal that I made. And then I lit it up and had this little fan right here blowing on the end of it. It sucks all the gases, or it sucks the flammable fumes all the way through the radiator and the filter and then down, because if you try to pull it by hand and do all that, it'd fucking break your arm. But yeah, because I've done it before, so I know. But yeah, anyway, that's the idea. That's that right there is going to generate the 24 volts, whatever, once I get it stationary and, you know, built the way I want to build it. That's going to generate the 24 volts. That's going to go into my gridtie inverter, and that's going to plug back into the house, so that can generate power all day long, as long as I put charcoal in it. And dude, I make 55-gallon charcoal, you know, in 3 hours. So, and this thing will burn. You can see a little bit of smoke coming out of there because there's nothing pull. I wonder if it'll start again. I don't know. I'm trying to remember where the air was set at. It might not start, but because it's really picky. Yep, there it is. Yeah, you see that glow inside there. That's just the charcoal burning, and it's regular charcoal that you make out of like these pallets right here. I can cut them up and throw them in a burn barrel without air and burn them, and then 3 hours later it's a whole barrel full of charcoal. So I think I've got some laying up here that I was testing on my forge. It rained last night. We had that storm come through. I didn't see any damage. Yes, there's a little bit left, but it's right here. This right here, basically I take those pallets or wood scraps or whatever, and then cut them into small pieces like this, and then cook them. Basically that's what you're doing. Basically you're like baking them, but you're not letting no air get to them. And what they'll do is the volatile gases will come off of it, and then I route them back into the fire, so it doesn't take me a lot of brush to, you know, make a batch of charcoal. And I use a brush that I clean up from around here, like when limbs fall and stuff like that. So it really doesn't cost me anything except labor. And I mean, it's not hard. You get a few good days, and you can make a few hundred gallons of charcoal. And this drum right here, if it was full and I ran this, it could probably run 12 hours, you know, 14. It might run, you know, a whole day. I don't know. I've never, because that's only almost 4 horse, 3 3/4 horse, whatever. And you've seen that idle right there. I mean, it wasn't like kicking out, you know, at full RPMs. It's probably only running, I don't know, 2,500, 2,400 RPM, something like that. And I was putting out, you know, 22 volts, which is enough to run my gridtie inverter. And then the gridtie inverter will sense the voltage from the house, from the line, and what it does is it matches the voltage, and then it matches the frequency. So any kind of off-grid stuff that you're doing right here, and then you produce electricity to put back in the grid, it will sense the frequency, and then it'll pump it back into the grid, and whatever you don't use will go back into the grid. And I've already looked into DP&L, which is our electric provider, and they have they have allowances for, you know, home grid power production, you know, as long as you're not making, you know, like megawatts and stuff, you know, then they're calling you an energy supplier. But you can offset your electrical, which is what I plan to do. Plan to get that electric bill down to 0. And so I've already got my gas bill. My gas bill is so low that the actual carrier charge to get my gas to my house is 3 times what I paid for gas. My gas bill last month was like $6, and they charged me $25, you know, for the carrier fee. I'm like, really? Okay, why don't I just get a bottle of propane? See, the turbine out there is starting to turn. I gotta work on that next. But anyway, that's a quick little update for people that was wondering how this generator. I had a lot of people, like at the tire shop and stuff, was asking me, you know, how's that thing work? And you try to explain it, and it's like, well, you can explain a certain amount, but then you have to show people how it works. But you know, there's no gasoline, and this is completely renewable. So as long as I can, you know, build a fire and make charcoal, I can have power. And even if the grid goes down and I can't use my gridtie inverter, I can use this 24-volt system right here, and I could put a split in it, or I can double up my batteries into 24-volt banks, and then I can use this to charge my batteries, and then run off of a regular inverter, which I have, and then I could run my house off of, you know, what I store from my solar and from this right here. But alright, man, that's the update. Hope y'all have a good one, and you know, I'll see you later from hot, muggy Ohio. Later.